Yo! Hello and welcome to this Warno 1v1 game. Today we've got MakeNoise playing 6th US Infantry Division, going up against Skate playing 119Y, a division I've never seen him on before actually. We're on Two Lakes, and let's cover the deck reviews, then we'll talk about the map, the matchup, the deployments, and finally the game, and as always timestamps in the description. Right, so this is MakeNoise's deck. He's playing 6th US, a division very close to my heart. I've had a lot of games on 6th US, and it's basically just a very difficult division to, there you go, 47 rank, the almost all ranked games. And that thing doesn't reset unless you manually reset it. So yeah, division very close to my heart. It is a very weak, well, okay, it's a weak-ish division. I'd say it's like B tier. I think I had it as A tier last time. I don't think that's true really. It's a B tier div. Yeah, it just loses to IFV spam, tank spam, and it doesn't really get either. So difficult div to play properly. Let's go through it tab by tab. So we got 2 CV cards here, so 5 CVs and then 8 CVs. So that's fair enough really. Plenty of CVs there. Having 3 cards of CVs is always pretty decent. You can get away with 2 if they're like both 3 availability. So you could get rid of this one and just have 6. But, you know, you get plenty of infantry anyway, so I don't really... Well, yeah, it would be this. So it would be like an extra card of supply or something. It's only a 1-point slot. There's nowhere else you can put it. And you don't really need an extra card of supply on this div because you don't have that many tanks. So I mean, you've got these and that's it, and you don't have that much artillery, so you don't really need that much supply. So 2 cards of supply is fair enough. This is like a really nice supply card because it's 750, 30 points. All supply cards bring 6,000 supply, so this is just a very nice one. And then this is because you can't get 2 of these, so for 10 points less it carries you know, it's kind of difficult to manage these because they carry so little supply. You end up having a lot of them on the field. But this is sort of the same problem, and it's a Hilo one. So yeah, I think I just run these 2 as well. I might actually run 3 cards of supply. It's been a while since I played it. I got sort of burnt out on it because it is you know, it's just so frustrating going up against IFV spam and tank spam especially. Like if you're against T55s or heavy tanks on this div, which he's against 119Y. It's just an absolute nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. It's basically impossible to do anything about it. So yeah, I did a fire support guide ages ago where I said that these were the best. Well, okay, this is like a special one that can shoot helicopters, but these are now the worst. Grenade launchers are the best, and this would be the second best. Just because of the way the prices work and stuff, really, these 50 cals need to come down in 5 points, so this should be 35 because it's the special one, and the other one should be 30, but I did ask. Airborne, 65 points for AT4 and 2 machine guns that can't shoot on the move. I don't think I bring this one, actually. I bring 2 cards of light rifles at 1 vet. So he's got light rifles here. Light rifles are good because you could spam the recoilless rifle. They've also got 3 machine guns. So for the same price, you got the same number of men, 1 more machine gun. The machine guns can fire on the move, but AT4s, it is nice to have AT4s. So another thing you can do is even just bring, so like between these 2, right? So the airborne, they're forward deployment, and they come in a Humvee, so they're at 100 kilometers an hour, whereas this is at 90 because it's an M35. Right, so this is 90, so it'll get there slower than this, which is 100 because it's a Humvee. And there's, but this is a Humvee as well, so your LRS can get there first anyway. So I think you could do without the airborne, and then at which point, for 5 points more, oh, they get a rank of veterancy for free, so you're basically getting 3 more of them. Okay, fair enough. But, I'm looking at the same unit twice. To get an extra machine gun, you know, and that's useful. But yeah, you do get fewer of them. I also see people bring this one. So this is 7 men with Resolute. This is like 2 machine guns, can't fire on the move, right? But it's got smoke and it's got AT4s, so I think I was experimenting with this towards the end. This is only 20 points, and it is very fast. Sadly, it's an MMG, not a HMG, but if it was a HMG, it would be 25 points, so... Yeah, so that's another idea. Also, like, Airborne Dragon can be... So, like, this is your best AT. So, yeah, I don't know about Airborne. We'll see. We'll see. I'm pretty sure I just bring 2 cards of recoilless rifles and call it a day. Let's have a look, actually. What have I been up to? It's been a while since I played it. So I actually do bring 3 cards of supply, which I could probably do without. But then I've got 6 CVs, which is, you know, I think decent anyway. And then, yeah, I bring 2 cards of recoilless rifle. I am trying the USMC security, and I don't bring the grenade launcher because you've got grenade launchers in these vehicles. So that's just something to consider. So, like, do you really need this if you've also got, you know, 17 grenade launchers here? Probably not, but it's up to you, really. I really like the recoilless rifle spam, but it does struggle against, like, a T-55, for example, just basically kills this whole division. So yeah, something like Airborne Dragon could be useful, but this is overpriced, really. It shouldn't be 75 points. And yeah, TOW2. Navy SEALs, of course, very strong squad. So this is a... it's classed as like an LMG that can fire on the move. So it's technically belt-fed, but I believe it's got like customized stats so that, yeah, it can fire on the move. Unlike a regular M60, because it's got like the pistol grip and everything. It's designed to do that, basically. And yeah, this is a very strong squad. But yeah, you do struggle against close-range armor on this division, particularly on maps like Chemical. That's what made me stop playing it in the end. People would just drive a T-55 up to me and I couldn't do anything about it. I literally can't do anything about it. What are you going to do? Do 1 damage to him 10 times? Great. Then, you know, the answer to that is supposed to be like this thing, because it's got 2 AT4s. It's basically just a really bad version of a group anti-char. It's 10 points less. But you have to sort of bring it at 1 vet anyway. Although, do you? Because it shouldn't really be in combat. I'll be surprised if you need more than 5. So yeah, I was starting to experiment with things like this, but that's why I ended up putting so yeah, this is... Okay, so these guys are 13 men, very chunky squad. Military police really helps you win infantry fights. But what I found was that I was putting these with my with my Navy SEALs, which are sort of doing that anyway. So there's a bit of an overlap here, and so I ended up swapping these out for the Stingers because they come with the military police vehicle, which means you can put this, click it, Shift F, click on your tanks, gets rid of this reservist debuff, which is absolutely debilitating. It's not reflected on the stat card, but it just makes these tanks terrible. They did say they were going to make that less aggressive. So I was actually I used to bring both of these, and then I ended up swapping out the security for the security patrol so that I could get this military police vehicle. Alternatively, you can pay 5 points more for the faster military police vehicle, but I just didn't really see the point. Also, I believe this gets targeted, like, because basically there's like an automatic targeting thing in the game. I believe this is classed as more of a threat than this is, so this gets shot first. But I never did a proper test on that, I just assumed so. But yeah, anyway, so this is, you know, like organic Stingers, so I prefer this one to this one, because yeah, this is a really good anti-infantry squad, but it's overkill because you've already got the Navy SEALs, and they'll do it for you anyway, especially if they've got military police next to them. So yeah, this is sort of overkill. I'd be swapping this out for this and getting that military police vehicle. Artillery, so you don't get self-propelled artillery, which is a total pain in the neck, so you're forced to move these around all game, so your enemy doesn't have that problem. It's just a very difficult div to play. The other team just spamming IFVs as it's so much easier. Then we've got 81mm mortars for smoke. They've been up vetted once. It depends who you're against. I prefer to leave them down vetted because they just die so easily because they're not self-propelled. And if you tell it to smoke and then load up and move, sometimes it doesn't work, and it will automatically, with its if you give it one order, it will fire 2 salvos, which means that it's going to be there for a good, because the 5 rounds take time to shoot, quite 10 seconds. It's more like 15 really to fire all 5. Call this another whatever. It's gonna be there for like a good 30 seconds. Which in some cases gets it killed, especially with it being bugged and everything. So I prefer to leave it down vetted, but it depends who if you're against somebody who's not counter batterying you, then yeah, great, bring it like that. But this guy is pretty high up the ladder, so I honestly prefer that. But you could say that, you know, if you increase the veterancy, then it'll fire faster and you can get it out of there faster. So that's something. Tank tab. So these are so this is National Guard. It makes it worse. It gives it like longer aim time and less accuracy, and it doesn't actually reflect that on the stat card. But this can one shot a. This is basically just a Conquer's vehicle, but National Guard, right? So this is sort of more or less like a Conquer's, but with more accuracy. So it can one-shot the side armor of a Leopard 2. It can one-shot 6 armor, basically. And then this can one-shot 11 armor. It's armor plus HP, so that's 10, plus 4, so that's 14. So yeah, it can one-shot 11 armor. So yeah, it's good to bring both because they have different use cases, right? This is like flank protection and spam, more or less, and this is for seriously hurting people. And they've both got, you know, a decent range. Conquer's range, basically. Recon tab, so these guys are really useful because they get the recoilless rifle and their recon, sadly, you know, reservist debuff not doing them any favours. And they come in a Huey, which is very useful at the start of the game, especially if you're going to do some funny Recon A10 opener, which I don't actually do, because everybody expects it. But if they don't, then you can just win at the start. It's quite funny. So yeah, this is very useful just for like resupplying flanks and stuff like that, doing flanks, getting them around to places, sniping transports on roads, because this can shoot infantry and vehicles. It's got low accuracy, but they're 2 vet, so it's higher, and it's got 8 rounds, and it's got the range. The range is the important part, really. Scouts in the grenade launcher Humvee, so we got more grenade launchers here. Do you need it? Do you need it if you've got all these grenade launchers? Maybe you do. Then we've got LRS, so these guys come in the Humvee, which is 100, so they'll get there faster than the Navy SEALs, because they're forward deployed, but theirs is at 90, because it's a truck. And so that's why I don't bring the airborne, because I've got the LRS if I need to get there super duper fast as possible. So yeah, I'm not so sure about these scouts. I don't know. I mean, maybe it can work out. This is just the same, but with worse transport options. Like, this isn't very good, because it's not got the recoilless rifle, which is what made the ACAV so good to begin with. I've seen people bring these as well, because it's got smoke. But, like, you know, it's just not a very good squad, really. But it does have the airborne forward deployment and so on, and you can bring it in this. But yeah, I think this is probably a safer bet. Grenade launchers. And then this is your only tank, right? This is your only armoured vehicle, really, unless you want to count this 1 HP Peacekeeper thing as an armoured vehicle. Or, you know, an M113 is an armoured vehicle, okay. Okay, you got me. But yeah, this is your only IFV/tank, and you get 8 of them at 1 vet. You gotta bring them at 1 vet, otherwise they just don't do anything. It doesn't have smoke. It dies in 1 hit to a Milan 2. It doesn't, you know, it's got the worst possible range. It's slow. It doesn't have smoke. It's reservist. So it's really not very great. And then, yeah, this is a Recon Helo, and this is the Recon A10. It doesn't start further forwards at the start. It's still got 12 seconds travel time, etc. But the idea is it can scout its own targets, which actually makes it very effective at spotting, because it can spot what it shoots at. You don't need this with it to do that. Although it can be useful to have it out in front, because, you know, by the time you've seen something, usually you can only shoot one thing or shoot it a little bit. AA, so airborne stingers, and they are at 100 kilometers an hour road speed. And Eyehawks, which are very useful to have, And then this is anti-infantry, the VADs. You use this. This is your pseudo IFV. Just shoots infantry a lot. Very powerful gaming. So that's what that's for. And then we've got Cobras. This is worse than the regular Cobra because the minigun got nerfed, and this has, you know, these both have less range than the regular. Like, so look, 1575. This is a lot better than this. Sadly, you know, the rounds they carry isn't great either, so this will run out of bullets in less than a minute. This will run out of bullets in less than a minute. This will last a bit longer, I suppose. So yeah, but they are cheaper. There's a reason. There's a reason they're so much cheaper. Right? Do you see? It's 15 points cheaper. It's because the gun is worse, and you tend not to use the gun that often, so they're actually quite useful. And then yeah, the tow cobra with more itos. Air tab. So yeah, I bring very similar things. The prowler's kind of bugged. I have been trying to tell them about this. I don't know. I'm just getting a little bit fed up these days. I'm glad Broken Arrow's coming out. It just forces them to wake up a bit. This will only shoot one missile in a single run because the angle, the cone. So if you imagine you've got your plane flying above your AA piece, which is down here somewhere, right? The cone of fire is like this, so it'll fire one, and then it'll fly up, and then it won't be able to fire the second one because it flies really high. It'll only fire one in one pass, unless there's like two AA pieces really far behind each other. It just never seems to shoot two at one thing, and they just don't want to fix it. So for 300 points, and it's very RNG. This is the other reason I stopped playing this div. It's all air spam, and your air's all RNG. I've seen this thing get one shot with its 60% ECM and its, you know, jamming capabilities. I've seen it get one shot by a Krug. So then this is one of the best bombers in the game. It's very cool. This is a decent AT plane, and this is high altitude cluster, so I actually think it's very bad. The other thing you can bring is the A10, right? This is high altitude napalm. Napalm's not good anyway. I've seen people bring this because they're like, whatever, the Prowler's too expensive, but it's even worse than the Prowler, right? But you know, it's all RNG, so you can take your chances, and I don't know if maybe this will actually fire both of its missiles. This I was bringing instead of the cluster because this is high altitude, so they just move, and it's got a 6-minute reload. I was bringing this, but it is literally useless against tanks. I had a tank on less than 1 HP, and I shot it with a full volley of this, and it was still on less than 1 HP. So, something to keep in mind. So I've seen people bring these instead. I can't remember what I do at this point. I don't play the div anymore because it upsets me. I want to like it, but the whole meta of the game... Yeah, so I switched back into the rocket plane. Most of my things are very similar. Oh, I was trying the Pathfinders. Interesting. I'm not sure why. Not sure why I've been doing this. I suppose because I needed a cheap recon, but it's 40 points. They've got AT, which is useful. They've got smoke, which is useful, I suppose, but... this comes with the grenade launchers, and it's 25, so it'd actually end up being the same price anyway, actually. But yeah, I could bring this in the 50 car, I suppose. I don't know. They've got smoke. You get 6 of them at 2 vet, so it's like a decent squad. It's got AT, so it can be useful for like sneaking around the sides and stuff. Yeah. So that's the way I build mine. Switching to his opponent, we got Skate, spamming out this OP div 119Y. He used to play it back when it was weak, and now it's strong, so, you know, you can't really fault him. But yeah, 119Y is basically S tier at the moment. It got a lot of buffs between when I made the tier list. The Burrito got better, the TO55s got a lot better because their fire rate went up and their availability went up. And it got the Razvedka BMP2, which is sort of absurd. It's just an absurd unit because you can get 6 of them. He's up there for some reason, I'm not really sure why. So, 3 cards of supply because, yeah, I'm surprised he's not got any of the cheaper supply. So he's forced to constantly spend 40 points on these trucks. You can't get a cheaper supply out. But to be honest with this div, you sort of want to be blobbing anyway. And then infantry tabs of Spetsnaz, very good anti-infantry squad. It's assisted by Spetsnaz OP, which is a very good anti-tank squad. And then Saperi for satchels. So I used to, you know, sort of like, which one should I bring? This one or this one? This is actually really good, but the way it works is that it relies upon having a regular infantry sort of in front of it. Because you bring it at no vet, and you shoot your RPOs, and you should have like a Pulmachiki in front of it, shooting people. But this can sort of fight by itself at 1 vet. It's not as good as the RPO combo thing, but you get more of them. You only get one more at one vet, but anyway. Yeah, whatever. I mean, he's clearly not brought much infantry, but he literally only plays this div. He's up here somewhere. Where is he? He's rank 3 before, so... Okay. Yeah, oh, he's been playing some NATO recently. Interesting. So yeah, he's a big fan of 119Y, and this is his moment now, because it's OP now, so he can enjoy it a bit more. It used to be really quite weak. So yeah, he's upvetted his infantry, right? Usually I'd say this should be at no vet, and, you know, this can be at 1 vet, sure, because it sort of needs to be if you actually want it to do anything. And I wouldn't be bringing this here. I'd probably have this full 3-point slot to get to, you know, three of these maybe. Obviously having the wheeled CV is nice, but you're going to be behind on this div anyway on points. The whole point is that you win the late game. So yeah, he's really min-maxing his infantry, but he plays the div so much that, you know, you can't really fault him for it. Then here, the burrito, it's actually really good against infantry now. It's just, it's now terrible against tanks, because it got turned into thermobaric. Which means it's like super duper good against infantry, but it's super duper bad against armor, whereas it used to be good against everything. So, yeah, it's a more defined... I mean, I think that's more realistic, really. I think they should have just given it its proper range. It shouldn't... This is the upgrade that shoots this far. The original one goes 2,000-something. And then start bringing down these supply costs and this reload time. It's kind of silly, really. And then, yeah, these are for, like, smoking and stuff. So, this... Yeah, it's heavy arty for hurting positions. You can get the Gvozdika... but it won't really do anything to like a single ATGM squad. You could shoot 3 of these at it and it'll, you know, it might die, it might not, because the splash on it is so low. So you're sort of forced to bring this if you actually want to take out those concentrated anti-tank targets, which is kind of what you need to do on this div. But it's a big micro requirement, because you got to move them around constantly, because they're towed, whereas this is not towed, right? Don't bring the Vasilek, it's very bad. Tank tab, so yeah, I mean, this is more or less how I build it, because he plays the most, so I learnt from him. You bring the T80 BVKs for the CVs. You bring the T80 UDs, because you got to bring them at 1 vet. If they're at no vet, they lose their cohesion straight away and they can't fight, so you got to bring them at 1 vet. And then these, I see people bringing them at 2 vet, don't bother. You need as many of these as you can get. 1 vet's fine, 2 vet is less of an upgrade, and you still lose the same amount of tanks, right? Like, the jump from 1 to 2 is less important than the jump from 0 to 1, because from 0 to 1, you recover your cohesion from 0 to full in 7 minutes at no vet, and 3 minutes at 1 vet. And then at 2 vet, it's 2 minutes. Right? So, yeah, and they're auto-loaded anyway, so it doesn't give you a better rate of fire if you upgrade it, etc, etc, right? So these should be at 1 vet, and then this... He uses this to, like, sneak around the sides and being as annoying as possible, because it's got good stealth now. I say now, it's been like that for about a year. It used to have mediocre stealth, but they upped it to good stealth because Pact doesn't get those, like, those little jeeps with conkers and stuff very much, and Pact's not allowed to have bad equipment, so they made these all good stealth. And then these had their fire rate go up, so they shoot faster than Chieftains now, because Pact was well known for having really good equipment. Definitely wasn't a... quantity over quality thing. No. That's Western bias. And then their availability went up from like 862 or whatever to 964, and the price didn't change. So these are now incredibly effective. And, you know, I've not seen the game yet, but basically this div is just extremely good against 6th US, because, like, 6th US can't kill these. What are you going to do? Shoot an AT4 at it? You'll do 1 damage. How many AT4s did you bring? You're going to bring up your own tank to deal with it? Oh, wow. You're going to use your 2 planes to kill these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tanks. And by the way, his air force is better than yours, because these jets are cheaper, shoot longer range, have more missiles, and turn better, so on the merge they beat the Eagle. So, 119Y, pretty cracked div. So, Razved could be MP2. On this div, I'd be bringing him at no vet, so you can get as many out as possible. But this guy plays this div a lot. So I guess he trusts himself to not need those 2 extra Razvedka BMP2s. But yeah, I'd be bringing it at no vet. If you're watching this and you're not skate, I would be bringing this at no vet. Although, you know, if you're watching this, don't play 119Y. It's very, 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 well, whatever. I mean, if you want to win, you should probably play it. But I see it a lot these days, and it's because it's cracked. This is your a more forward deployment, right? It's at 90, though. You'll note that this is also at 90, and this is at 100, which is why you need it in the opener, because this will stop the enemy guys from getting to your position. This guy will be right behind him to then kill the enemy guys in the open. And then, yeah, so Sapper's at 1 vet. So these are your satchels. So I don't understand why he's brought more satchels. And he's got Spetsnaz for close range. So this could be a Pomachiki squad, which is going to be more effective against, you know, infantry, and it's got the anti-tank. Whereas you've actually got 3 close range anti-infantry out of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out of 7 units, 3 are sappers. So you don't actually have any line infantry and trucks. So I don't understand why he's brought this. Because this is, you know, anti-infantry. This is anti-infantry. This is anti-infantry. I don't see the point, really. I'd be bringing Pomachiki at 1 vet. But he plays a div more than me. I hate this div so much. And it's hard to be objective. It's just a cracked div. Every time I go ranked, I'm against this div. And, yeah. Anyway. So, this is really annoying as well. It's amphibious. So, last time I played against him, I was playing KDA. I won, by the way. But it was before they got all these buffs with the Razvedka BMP2 and these things getting way better. And yeah, he was sort of sending these... It was on chemicals, so he kept sending them over the water to snipe my AA pieces. So yeah, they're very good if you can use them. But you can sort of do without it, because you've got... This can do the same thing. So I don't really think you need both, especially if you've got this for your exceptional optics to help your tanks. But, you know, the idea is that you frustrate the enemy with these wraparound things for like 20 minutes while you build up your AA net and build up all your tanks. And so, I mean, it makes sense, really, if you can use it. Like, if you're bringing it and you're not doing anything, you might as well just bring this and have it die at the start after accomplishing something, right? Rather than bringing something you're not going to use. But that's the theory anyway. The theory is one of the strongest deployments in the game on your late game div. With the Razvedka BMP2s, the TO55s, and the Spetsnaz. And then you spend, you know, the mid-game, yeah, pumping out the rest of these, and, you know, buying these, sending them around the sides, buying these, sending them around the sides, while setting up your AA net, killing enemy bombers, and building up your tank force. And then in the late game, you just sort of walk in. So that's how you play the div. Yeah, and then AA, so he prefers the Tunguskas over the Strela 10Ms. So the one on 27Y, I think, is obviously better. The Strela 10M3, 27Y is probably better than the Tunguska because it costs the same. But between these two, if you want to shoot down planes, it sort of has to be the one on the right. Even though the guns and the missiles don't shoot at the same time. It doesn't have smoke either. It's kind of annoying to keep it alive. I mean, this obviously same problem, right? But it's cheaper. And then, yeah, updated igloos in the US. I saw somebody bring these in the MTLB. I'm not sure why. Don't do that. Heli tab. So, yeah, a couple helos. Just more time buying while you bring your tanks, right? And your choices are like, this is not very good. Don't bring that. And between these 3, right? So this is 5 points more. I prefer the one on the right because it can shoot its rockets from further away, and you don't really need more than 4 Kokons because the enemy's just going to whack a jet into you after you shoot 4 Kokons, or you'll be retreated, or you'll be dead. So I prefer having the longer range on the rockets. But you do also get the best ASFs in the game, so you can sort of protect your helicopters. And the idea is to bait your enemy planes over into your helicopters so you can kill them, so that in the late game you have air superiority and he can't bomb you. And yeah, so then there's this one which is 20 points more, and it has ECM, and it's like, they're all one per card, so you might as well anyway, I guess. But yeah, it's got twice the rockets, and if you play in a late game div, you don't need those extra 20 points really, do you? Because you're going 40 minutes anyway. Then, so like the only time you should ever upvet your fighters is if you bring in so many of them that it's like one less. I still don't think it's a good idea, but basically upvets his first fighter because then it gets 8% additional ECM. But I just don't think it's ever worth it. I always rather have the extra fighter at this point because I've seen this just not. I've seen it die so many times when I try it. And it's like, well, what did I. I lost an additional airframe in a game that I know is going to last 40 minutes, so I know I could have bought it for this gambling chance that didn't pay off. So I'm not really a gambling person. I know a lot of people are, enjoy gambling, but that's not for me really. And yeah, so this is like one of the best fighters in the game, and this is like basically the best fighter in the game. I mean, there's like unicorns everywhere, but just in terms of cost efficiency, this missile outranges every single NATO missile in the game. The R-27R has more range than anything on NATO, and it's got more accuracy. And the R-73 is the best short-range missile in the game as well. So Pact was actually really well known for having a better air force than NATO, so that's why it is the way it is. Yeah, it was well documented that Pact had the best air force. And then he brings this bomber, which, okay, I mean, he's clearly done some sort of min-maxing thing here. That's a 2-point slot, okay. I mean, typically you'd want a couple of these and some seed, but I suppose he just doesn't want to bring bombers all game, but he's got this as sort of a panic button if he actually absolutely has to bring it. He just wants to play like a slow game, whittle away the enemy's air force, and then win. So yeah, let's cover the game. As you can see, I'm very unhappy whenever I see 119Y these days. It's just total metal sweat abuse div. I'm really not a big fan. Right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the map. The map is red-sided because Lima's a lot easier to attack than Alpha, and X-Ray and Papa are about the same. Red also gets a decent foothold in Oscar. But yeah, Blue can get a decent foothold in Zulu. It's mainly this thing about Lima's so much easier to attack than these other 4 zones. And in terms of the matchup, 119Y is very, very meta at the moment. Every other game, I'm against 119Y. It's either a T72 div or it's 119Y. It's pretty cracked. Basically, it's got an extremely strong opener, and then they made its mid game a lot better, and its late game, it's got the best tanks in the game, basically. You could argue that the H.A. Abrams, but depends. So yeah, it's a really strong div. Skate basically only plays this div. I mean, I checked his rank profile when we were doing the deck reviews. He had 54 games on NATO, so I'm not. He must have been playing something else. But yeah, he likes his 119Y. Pretty meta div. I mean, he was playing it when it wasn't meta, so credit to him. And now he's basking in the limelight of this ridiculously overbuffed division. I'm not a big fan. It's basically just easy mode. In terms of like 6th US really struggles against armor because it doesn't have high pen AT. And, I mean, it's got some Totus and that's about it really. And yeah, it's just like this is your only real armored asset on 6th US. It is a Recon M48 with the lowest range gun. And so yeah, basically this is just incredibly favoured towards Red. Red should have no problem winning this game because he's got the better div, he's on the better side, he only plays this div, he's got more games. So yeah, it's pretty depressing really. 6th US really struggles against armor. Your best close range AT is the AT4. You're forced to rely on your air tab. This guy gets better fighters than you for cheaper. 119Y has better fighters because the Eagle is trash for the price, and the SU-27 is really good for the price. It's cheaper and it's better in basically every way. So, yeah, I'm just salty just looking at it. I don't know. Warno as a game is not a fair game with the RNG and the fact that some divisions are just better than others. and how long it takes for them to do anything about it. I mean, we've been complaining about 5e for like, you know, since the beginning of the universe. But yeah, I suppose I'm just playing too much Warno. I'm starting to get a bit burnt out. So I'm looking forward to Broken Arrow simply because it's different. Like objectively, it probably is the worst game, but I've played 2,500 hours of Warno and I'm getting a bit sick of it. I don't know. Maybe I need some sleep. So let's cover the deployments. We got MakeNoise making his rush, right? So he's going to try and get into Zulu. And this is extremely predictable, right? So it's basically his only chance is to try and rush Zulu at the start. He could have tried to have done like an Alaskan Cav Scout Huey rush into X-Ray, but really this is his best bet. Get into Zulu, fight the enemy who is a heavy tank div with a much better late game, but also gets really strong forward deployment, smiley face, and a better air force than you and more armor than you. All smiles. And yeah, so what's in this push? So we got a Stinger, an Airborne. We spoke about this in the deck review. I'm not a huge fan of the Airborne pick, but whatever. 2 Navy SEALs, and the LRS, and the LRS is going to the left. Behind that, we've got 2 M48s, and these are missing their quintessential stabilizer. Usually, oh no, they've got it. It's the other one that's missing it. The one on TKS, so basically anything that's unstabilized in this game should have 5% motion accuracy anyway, just because otherwise it doesn't even aim until it stops. So they just did that so that it'll at least aim while it's moving, and then you can stop it, and then you can get the accuracy off on the shot. It helps a lot. Makes the game look a lot better as well. But the M48 on TKS doesn't actually have that. It's like the only tank in the game. But these actually, they do have that unstabilized 5%. So he's fast moving them. One's going here, presumably to try and cut the reinforcement road, and one's going here because then you can shoot down here, try and shoot the guys coming down. And behind that, we've got Fire Team Leader CV going to Ligma, and then he's going to be going to Zulu, presumably. And then 2, 3 ITOs, National Guard ITOs. So these are interesting spots. This one you don't really see used very often. Usually they're like back here. I suppose, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. And then, yeah, wow, yeah, it's quite rare to see people do this. I don't know, we'll see how, I mean, it makes sense, right? Although, well, okay, if it was here, which is actually not that far away, it would be able to shoot down here, I suppose. But there is actually an LOS break behind this house. It's just because it's an approximation, it doesn't display it properly. But if they went behind this house, I think you would actually lose your targeting. We'll see. And yeah, on the right, we got a couple Navy SEALs. Because basically, Red, if he wanted to, could rush Oscar. Which he could have done, really. He could have just said, well, I'm probably not getting Zulu at the start. I'll just rush Oscar because there tends to be less there and hold Oscar. I suppose I'm skipping to his deployment now, but whatever. So yeah, Airborne Navy SEAL Stinger, Alaskan Cav Scouts go into this spot here. And then you should path the Huey, otherwise it'll stay on the ground and get shot, so you should give it a shift order to come attack over here or something. And then a Humvee CV for Papa Oscar. Switching to his opponent's deployment, he's gone the... so there's basically 2 ways you can play it on this side against the forward deployed div. Well, I suppose there's 3. One is just try and counter him by rushing a bunch of guys in, which you can do. You've got the Spetsnaz, right? You've got the Razvedka BMP2s. You got the TO-55s. The alternative is to rush Oscar. Or fight for Oscar, because you're like, well, he's probably going to put loads in Zulu, so you just put a couple units in here, right? One guy looking down this road in that tree line, or whatever. One guy here, try and put somebody here so that they don't come down this road. And then you just go hard on Oscar, because if they're rushing this, there's not going to be that many people here, as you can see. It's very common to see this kind of deployment from blue side. So that's one way you can solve the problem. The alternative is, yeah, just to fight. And the third one is to forget about Oscar anyway, but don't rush Zulu. Just accept that he's going to get there first and change up your deployment. So instead of having a bunch of forward deployed infantry and trying to fight him in that regard, you can just sort of camp out here with a bunch of TO-55s and then just like slowly try and get into here. Because once you're in here, he can't reinforce it anymore. And once you've done that, then you can squeeze the town out. You can do what you like, right? But anyway, I'm just giving you some ideas, dear viewer. So OP Spetsnaz going to X-Ray. They're in a very, very defensive position. Yeah, you could put them up here, but whatever. BRDM 2 to spot whoever's coming around. a CV, a TO-55, also defending. A Conkers for here. A Conkers on the left. So for 70 points, this is like this, but it's got more armor. You know, it's got more missiles. It's got less accuracy on the missile. It's not reservist, right? But it's got more armor, and they've both got good stealth. And this is way faster, so they fulfill very similar roles basically. So you can see these as like roughly equivalent of each other, or analogous to each other. And then on the right, we've got a bunch of Spetsnaz. So two Spetsnaz OP. The Spetsnaz orange-purple, they have the RPG there. And then we've got a Ural, an Igla, a CV for Alpha, Saperi for Zulu, and then a TO-55 going on the right, and a Tunguska. So a bit of a weird deployment, to tell you the truth. Like, if you're the armored div, typically you'd want to try and take this and stop reinforcements getting in, but instead he's just relying on the fact that he also gets forward deployed infantry, which is fair enough really, but the infantry's just going to keep pouring in, presumably. So we'll see how it goes, but I don't think this was very intelligent. I think he would have been much better off buying a Razvedka BMP2 and two TO-55s or whatever, and moving them up to here with some AA behind, right, and then just cutting the reinforcement road. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Right, so they're off, and it's time for me to thank the generous channel joiners, generously joining the channel. They get their names on the screen, they get the videos early, they get members exclusive videos. At the highest rank, they get the games cast at a rate of 1 per calendar month. Great way to learn how to improve, right, because I sort of tear you to shreds. And, you know, a lot of people, they're big fans of public humiliation, right? Get 2,000 people watching you point out every mistake you made. Did I cast this guy's deployment? I can't remember. Anyway, so we got the airborne coming in here, and you see the timings there. Red does get there first, and red, if it were to attack here, would actually get here before blue gets here. So that's another reason why it's imbalanced. Navy SEALs going down there. You hate to see it, really. That's really bad, actually. And now these are normal cohesion because they lost cohesion there. They lob in the satchels of the Spetsnaz OP, and yeah, just regular airborne. They got there a little bit faster because of the extra speed, as we spoke about, but you can do that with LRS. And then this is going to try and shoot people coming down there. It's not having much luck so far. And if the Spetsnaz OP get to here, they will kill that. So TO-55 coming around, and yeah, over here there was you know, nothing really going on. Conkers have taken this side. Itos have shown up. Really, you'd want an Ito here, so you could shoot down here. And Skate, he's pointed out, yes, he's taken this. Well, yes, of course. This is very, very normal behaviour. I'm quite surprised by Skate's deployment, to tell you the truth. I think it was a bit silly Billy of him to just do this. Like, so yeah, I mean, he's winning the fight because his infantry is very good, right? But as long as this hole is open, Blue's thing is infantry. So you don't really want to be caught in a town grind. You want to use your armoured advantage to take these side positions, cut the reinforcements. So the TO-55 is like this, but better, because it could survive a Milan 2 hit. And it's got a lot, you know, it's not reservist. It's kind of a big deal. It doesn't have the good optics, right? But this one's got a flamethrower on it. And it's a 2-vet, so... Right, so here we go, bomber purchased. That's a pretty good bombing run. You will probably get everything except the ACAV here, because it's got the armor, and the 2 Stingers not really able to do too much about that. But what that does mean is that now he's got, you know, he could have had 3 of these for that. So he killed 2 units, and it'll come back in, whatever, 6 minutes. He'll be able to use it again 5 minutes, something like that. But I think he would have been better off at this stage in the game having 3 extra TO-55s or 2 Razvedka BMP2s. Imagine if you had Razvedka BMP2s here, this would be dead. So yeah, I don't know about that plane. And Blue has done a very good job actually keeping his reinforcement lines open. Like, coming up here was a very smart idea. But yeah, you see, like, this is low cohesion, and it's, you know, it's reservist, so that's never coming back. And so the TO-55 is so it's very powerful, and it's gonna win that fight. And so here we go. Blue's finally got his CV up. And, right, so Skate is now cutting the reinforcement road. He's now bought a T80U. Alright, I don't really think that's necessary against this div, because there's no armor that you really need to use. So basically, a heavy tank is best against, like, IFVs and medium tanks. IFVs because it can one-shot them instead of two-shotting them. And medium tanks because it just wins that fight, right, in 1v1. If you're against a div with just light-skinned units, thin-skinned units, I guess I'm a racial supremacist now, then you want medium tank, you want the TO55 spam, really, and we know he's got 8 of them from the deck review. And Razved could be MP2s and stuff. Like, this is basically, obviously 2 of these can shoot twice as fast as one of these, more or less, right? And if you're against guys that don't have a lot of armor, then you don't need the extra penetration that comes from a T80U. As it stands, though, he's winning just this sort of straight-up fight. You know, it's a very suboptimal way of playing, but his div's better. He's on the better side, so he can afford to just sort of, you know, play like ass and still win. Really not a huge fan of 119Y players at the moment, as you probably noticed. So yeah, MakeNoise, he's lost this position. Like, it was very smart of him to have this position, but sadly he's lost it. And, you know, he really could have used a couple of the Itos here, because now Red can cut his reinforcement route, which is presumably what this is for, though I'm not sure why it's going back there. And once he's done that, then Blue can't really do too much. Red doing a very good job of cycling his infantry. He's not actually losing his infantry, whereas Blue's infantry is all dying. A TOW2 will one-shot the TO55, but it will survive a Milan 2. But, you know, that wasn't a Milan 2. So yeah, you'll note that because of the CV and everything, Skate's infantry is all up-vetted. Like, so this is 2 vet, for example. And, yeah, I like this from MakeNoise. Right, these get, what, it's like 4? Okay. So, yeah, if this gets to here, then he can cut the reinforcements. I mean, that's really what it's all about, fighting in this town. And these very chonky USAV squads take a lot of killing. I hear plane sounds. Corsair comes in, gets a 1 unit, and it's probably dead now. So yeah, this is the issue with this div, is that if, you know, especially if you're playing on such a narrow front like that, that was not a good idea, basically, because there should be AA here, because it's just this, but it was the first aerial thing he'd used. People don't always bring AA. He hadn't seen these yet, so, you know, you can't really fault him for it. But that bomber is, you know, basically 6th US gets 4 good strike planes. 2 of those bombers and 2 AT ones. The other ones are all sort of not good. And so he's just lost 1/4 of his only way to kill T80Us. So it's really not great. So he's bought an IHawk now. This needs to have auto cell turned off. He's actually not unloaded it yet. And yeah, Blue just hemorrhaging units. I mean, he's got plenty of units to do, especially, you know, infantry, right? He can do this basically all day. But he is losing on trades. I really do wish there was like some kind of readout that said who was ahead on trades, you know, some proper RTS stuff, but I don't know, somebody told me I'm complaining too much. A lot of somebodies, they're not wrong, I just, what can I say, I'm miserable. So, BTR-60 gets caught out here. You've always got to be careful with these, like, because this is an approximation. You've got to check it from both sides. This doesn't mean that this couldn't shoot back if it had the capacity, it doesn't mean that. Anyway, so we've got 2 Su-24s coming in here. Do you see how he's coming in from this way? The IHawk's not actually been unloaded here. So this is a really cool bombing run, because they drop in a line. If he drops from this way, then yeah, he's more likely to kill things. Minimizes his exposure to AA, I suppose. IHawk unloads, but because it's got cover on, it's currently doing its adjustment phase, where it just, you know, does all this. And that is a 4-minute reload. So this doesn't even shoot. Because it had the cover on, so once you unload it, he's like, I need to get set up in this forest properly, whereas if that was turned off, it would have fired. Navy SEALs coming in here. They've been given an attack move, so if you know when you buy an infantry, right, you click up here, you click Y, and then you click, and then it will unload when it gets to where it wants to be. And, okay, so the Alaskan Cav Scouts have moved up here. They did get the Spetsnaz OP. And, yeah, if you're Blue, you know, you can keep fighting this. To be honest, as long as Red doesn't cut the reinforcement route, which he's not really doing. I mean, I assume that it's the plan, but it's taking him a long time. then blue is quite content to just shove infantry into here, because this is basically the only place on the map where he's strong, or in these towns. On the open, he's obviously very weak. But, you know, you see the burritos start coming in. It's you got to win this fight fairly fast if you're blue, if you want to get anywhere. So yeah, I do feel for him. Navy SEALs should beat Spetsnaz because of the satchels. Although actually, well, no, Spetsnaz should probably win actually because of the, you know, the RPO. Well, this is 4 machine guns. They're both special forces, and look, you see, this is immediately low cohesion. Which this guy's still okay. Also, it's got like 3 more men. So another CV comes in. Navy SEALs, yeah. And I like the supply back here. I think that's good. Another thing you could do is buy 1 mortar. TAEU getting ATGM'd there, but it sees you. Scouts. Oh, the Huey. He tried to get an Alaskan Cav Scouts in there and it died. This is low cohesion, so it misses. And then smokes off. This guy doesn't have AT, so he can't actually do anything about that. So he's trying to move these into position to sort this out. I shouldn't really be able to shoot on the move. I think it fired and then he moved it. And these will 2-shot that, because that's not TOW 2, that's an ITOW. As you can see, it does 5 damage. Down it goes. So they do have high accuracy scales with range. And yeah, I think as long as blue manages to keep this reinforcement lane open, right, red will eventually run out of infantry. Eventually. It takes a lot longer than you might expect, but red doesn't get that. 119Y doesn't get that much infantry. Definitely less than blue gets. So this is the force multiplier, the burrito, right? Yeah, so it's probably gonna... Yeah, there it goes. And you see how effective it is against infantry. Way more effective against infantry than it used to be. But it's less effective against armor. And this is just an incredibly useful map to use. It's probably the best map in rotation to use it on. I can't think of another map where this would be so useful. I mean, like, Two Ways has a city, but it's kind of bigger, more spread out. I suppose you could use it in the middle on Two Ways, but that tends to be more armoured units, whereas these are towns. This is where the infantry is. So, blue just hemorrhaging units to the burrito here. And you see that, you know, because of how powerful it is, you can just fire 10 rounds every time. So, he gets 3 volleys every, what's that, like 5 minutes? So that, I mean, obviously, yeah, it's got a really long reload time, but the way you mitigate against that is that you only, so that was a side shot there, and it's routed. The way you mitigate against it is that you just dodge ITOs. I mean, that wouldn't have killed that anyway, because it's actually got 10 front armor, because it is literally just a tank chassis with a tube stuck on the top of it. And Spetsnaz grew shooting away there. AGL should be able to kill that. It can't actually see it. Okay, now, no? Okay, interesting. So, Red's Gambit was kind of... It was a really weird strategy. So, you know, if I was the 119Y player in this position, although I don't play it that much, right? You're an armoured div, you've got really strong infantry, whatever. Your pockets obviously aren't as deep as the infantry div in terms of infantry spam. And so you want to cut the reinforcements. You want to buy lots of armour and cut the reinforcements. But instead, he basically just tried to... He basically just tried to 1v1 him in the town. Didn't really make much... I mean, he sent 1 TO-55 over to here. Did the TAEUD die? How did that happen? I probably got ATGM to death and I just didn't see it. I'm very sorry. So iHawk's actually set up now, and that actually does hit. So there you go, your two veterancy there. 2 veterancy there gets 2 tapped. So yeah, it's a really good idea to upvet your planes, because you want that extra 6% evasion. It makes all the difference, as you can see. Yeah, so here we go. Corsair coming in to clean out the last of this. There were 3 Tunguskas here. Now there are... so he's going to take a lot longer to get his stuff back. 2-minute repair time on that. A 2-minute reload time on that. The repair time is done off how many units you lose. What was I talking about? I was complaining about something. I don't know. I suppose I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. This div's so brain dead, dude. There's a lot of things like that in this game where it's... so he's just played the div completely wrong, and I don't understand why, because it's basically all he does all day is play this div. We do get on, by the way. I just don't like the div. But basically, when a div is broken, you can basically just play it wrong and get away with it. unlucky miss on that that stinger there. And you see that, so these USAF security, they're buffing up the ACABs, but if you brought the one with the stingers, as we spoke about in the deck review, you know, you'd have a much better time. So now, if you blew in this position, you've done it. You held the sides, which meant he couldn't cut your reinforcement road, which means that eventually you're just going to overwhelm him with your infantry, because you are the infantry div. And he is the armoured div. And even if you get Spetsnaz, etc., your pockets are just so much deeper than his when it comes to these things. So now if you blue, you want to use this. You want to just be... And he's sort of doing it, right? Get a couple stingers in there. Even get a toe 2 beginning to come down here with a recon in front of it. And just begin moving down here. Because in the open, he wins 100% of the time, right? Or at least he should do. I'm not sure what's going on. Whereas in the forest, you have the huge advantage. And then once you get to here, well, then you're in the zone. He has to set up back here. You know, he can shoot you once you pop out, but you're in the zone. You can do some smoking. You can hide in this corner. But yeah, really strong showing from MakeNoise there. He held the sides. He played it very well. He held the sides. He made some micro mistakes. He was like losing stuff in the transports. But eventually he held the sides, and he just flooded it with infantry, flooded it with infantry. I mean, that's literally the game plan here. When you're the infantry div, that's that's basically what you're supposed to do. Make sure you can get your infantry into the town, and then get your infantry into the town. What I would say is, one mortar can be useful in situations, especially like if the enemy's back here, it's no burrito, but just one mortar just constantly shooting back here basically forces your enemy to buy a 150 point artillery piece if he wants to do anything about it. So Skate beginning to reform now. He's still got some infantry left, right? And yeah, you'll see the power of this cluster. It's high altitude, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it takes 8 to 9 seconds, and it got a dead hit on there, and it was fine because it's very spread out, and it will now reload for 6 minutes. So that's why people tend to prefer the A10 or the rocket plane just for early game anti-infantry. These, as we spoke about, if you don't give them a move order after unloading, like shift queue up a move order, they will just stay on the ground and get shot by a tank. So something you've really got to be careful about. But yeah, I'm not sure it's... MakeNoise, he's a fan of the Hippie YouTube channel. He should know. You click up here, you click your unit, you click Y on your keyboard, and then you click here, and it will automatically unload once it gets to its destination. I'm very surprised he's not doing that. Maybe he actually doesn't know about it, but I'm pretty sure I saw him do it in the last game I saw him. Anyway, so MakeNoise now advancing over the open. This is really not what you want to be doing against this div, right? And, the Stinger's not in position. This is really not fantastic. Skate knows about the Toe 2. Toe 2 isn't in it. Yeah, so this is just... He's playing a bit suboptimally here. Gets that BTR 60 PB. Certainly a kill for the ages. And does get out, so that's nice. And now he knows that there's one AA piece here, so I suppose that's good information. But no, really, he should have not done that at all and bought a bunch of infantry. Like, this doesn't really need to be here. Where are you going? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, the Alaskan Cav Scout, sure, you've got some range on you. But these fire team laws, what is the plan here? They should have been unloaded here. And here comes the SU-27. And cleans that up fairly easily, with it being such a strong fighter. Dodges the AA, but that's max range. This really needs to move, and he is moving it. So, I don't know what's going on here, man. You've got this protected road here. I suppose he's just, he's suffering from success. He's like, well, I'm winning. Does pick off the Spetsnaz here, which is actually a huge kill, because he gets both. Because those bombs are pretty big. So that's pretty important. But yeah, so basically what MakeNoise should be doing is like the Alaskan Scouts, that makes sense. The Toe 2, that makes sense. Get another Stinger over here. Resupply this. But these fire team laws should all have been unloaded here. You should have SAS in here. You should have a Toe 2 moving down here with a recon and some, Stingers slowly moving on the tree line, right? And then your mainline infantry moving down here. And he should be using this because this is where he's strongest. But instead, he sort of charged over the open field and got rinsed by the tank division, which, of course. Another thing you can do is buy another IHOT, because you know that these planes are alive. You know he's got at least 2 bombers, because you've seen them and you haven't killed them. So that's going to keep happening. So, another thing you can do is reinforce this because you know, if the enemy decides to do an armored push here, you're basically screwed. Thankfully for MakeNoise, Skate is just doubling down on this over here. And looks like he's targeting the tow too. Loses the plane, finally. This didn't actually shoot. But yeah, these are two Net Stingers, 65% accuracy. Yeah, so what happens now? What are these guys buying now? So he's bought some grenade launchers, which... Okay, and Skate's just reforming his whole army, basically. So he's got the T-80U, he's saved one Tunguska. Sadly, he did lose like 2 or 3. He's buying IFVs, which are a bit more useful in the open, right? And he's going to keep buying his tanks. He's got 20 minutes left to sort this out. And, 13 to, like, sort this out. And then 20 to win. Yeah, he can just reform. As for Blue, you know, Blue's entering a period of, oh, he's bought RT. So, I get it, buying RT, right? But, like, this... I suppose, because it's quite rare for people to be in this position. This doesn't really... I mean, it happens, but it doesn't happen as often as various other things in this game. And so... But yeah, if you're MakeNoise in this situation, you really want to be pushing this forest. Because if you do that, Red basically can't stop you from getting to here. Because he's not got that much infantry. And you take all this stuff, right? And these are all places you can put those stupid Ito jeeps. So it helps you here as well. You get some AA in here as well, right? So it helps you defend this. And it pressures this. So the enemy has to keep stacking stuff back here instead of being allowed to reform his whole army. Now, it is smart to take this, because this is another place you can put ATGMs to shoot him in the side as he attempts to hurt you. So if you're in Skate's position, really, losing this is, you know, suboptimal. You should be in here, to be honest. Because the way you get back in, because you're going to get shot from this side, you're going to get shot from this side. So basically, you've got to pick a side. You can either come down here and push your way up through here. That's bad for Skate, because he doesn't have the infantry to win in this forest. Or you can come over here, where it's more open, and you can take this, and then you can push him from this way to this way. But instead, he's just sort of walking down the middle. And so he is getting shot from two sides. Burrito gets stopped by the 1-5. I don't think it'll save this. No, wow, is that gonna die? Last round, Ramirez. It's dead. I missed it. That's actually huge. That's colossal. That reminds me of that scene in Halo where the Marine's like, Captain, the main gun's offline. And he's like, oh no, alles ist verloren. That's actually what Captain Key says in Halo. Alles ist verloren? Yeah, that's American. And did you know American was the second most spoken language in Germany? What? Germany was the second... No, never mind. It was before World War I, and then World War I happened, and they started re-educating people. Anyway, Cluster comes out. You know, you could take the time to buy the seed, given that, you know they're Tunguskas, because they keep shooting you. Okay, so he's going for the AA? No, he went for the T-80UD. I mean, okay, these are important kills, right? Getting the T-80UDs, it is important. But he's got more heavy tanks than you've got bombers. So, I mean, if you get one every time, that's fine. Right? But another thing you can do is... Okay, so he uses the arty to focus the AA. So yeah, that's smart. And yeah, so the Tunguskas go down there, and now Skate has to spend another 5 minutes reforming. He has bought his own long-range arty, but losing the Burrito is huge. You know, that was a real Alice's Valor and Captain Key's Halo moment. Because that is how you clear out the town. And yeah, this is looking pretty rough for Red, actually. I don't fancy his chances anymore. I can hear an A10. So yeah, this is another thing you can do, is use the A10 for the recon and have the bombers behind it, because the A10 can take a couple hits, and so it shoots that, and then the bombers shoot the AA. That can work as well. Stinger misses. So he's getting the Razvedka BMP2 there. And he's got the cluster behind, which is going for the early grave, apparently. I'm not sure about that. That was really... Not sure what the point was there. Surely, if you wanted to hurt the BMP2, the cluster should go on the BMP2 and the recon should go on this, because... Well, whatever. So yeah, RT duel happening here. I mean, honestly, I think Red has just totally screwed this up. He played this completely wrong. Um, Probably thought, well, 60 US, whatever. He sent a bunch of infantry in at the start because he does get very good infantry, but he made no attempt to cut the sides, and 60 US gets way more infantry. Like the Spetsnaz is great, but you get one card of Spetsnaz, one card of Spetsnaz OP, whereas 60 US gets, you know, two cards of Navy SEALs and all this other stuff, right? And so he tried to fight the infantry fight, and he won it, actually, but he didn't take the sides, and so Blue just kept sending in more reinforcements. It's sort of like, you know, Germany in World War II moment going on here. This is the American army, and they just have infinite supply, so it doesn't matter if they're, you know, not very competent. They're just, they're just going to swarm you. So, sorry, 30% of my audience is American, so I probably shouldn't make jokes about them, but here we go. So Prowler's purchased now, and you see how useful it is. Alignment impossible. Now it's really got to leave. Eagle has less range than the SU, and there you go. Eagle goes down as you'd expect. Double eye hawk misses. Yeah, easy mode div. Really stupid planes. Prowler's back, and it fires one, and it will not fire the second one as we spoke about, and so this gets to live another day. And he switched off the gun now, so now he can't even shoot it. So yeah, I saw this YouTube video, and it was called "What Did Other Axis Nations Think of Allied Nations?" And it was just so obviously been made by an American. It's talking about how the Axis thought the Americans were good. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Where is it? Have I got it? Let's see if I can find it. Right, so this is a really good book. You should read this. It's called Reaping the Whirlwind, and it is the Axis under the it's World War II from the Axis perspective, and it talks about, you know, covers a lot about what they thought of the different nations and so on. Basically, the way they thought of the Americans was, what's with these guys? They just have infinite stuff. They're pretty stupid, but they just don't run out of anything. So it's very, very different to that guy's YouTube video. But I suppose that doesn't get the clicks. This channel basically wouldn't survive without the American audience, so maybe I shouldn't say things like this. I should just glaze you all the time. Wow, you're so good at Warno. You're really smart. Did you know America saved the world in World War II? I mean, to be honest, if American manufacturing did save the world in World War II, that's not really up for debate. But it's easy to win battles when you have infinite supply, right? Anyway, Skate's doing his big attack here. It's going about as well as you might expect without the burrito to clear out the infantry. And these VADs, you see the anti-infantry capacity of the VADs, as we spoke about in the deck review. I mean, yeah, this is just the reason I'm talking about these books and stuff. This game's basically over. Red should surrender, really. He's probably trying to work out what went wrong. Yeah, what went wrong is the Armoured div tried to fight an infantry battle and really didn't make much of an attempt to cut the sides here, and then swapped into planes, right? And the planes, he lost a lot of momentum because of the early plane buys. And if he'd just cut the reinforcements, he would have won, I think. So 60 US, definitely the weaker div, definitely the weaker side, but it just goes to show that what matters, you know, it's not the plane, it's the pilot. And here we had a superior pilot. But yeah, you see that this has less range than this, and in a merger, this turns better than this, so it gets missed. So if they both survive the first pass, the SU-27 kills you on the rebound because it gets 2 missiles off. This doesn't get 2 missiles off. This has 8 missiles. This has 10. These have 540 suppression. These have 388 suppression. They're the same apart from that. And yeah, this less range, less accuracy. It's got more ECM, right? And it's faster, but it actually turns worse. So, not great. Anyway, Skate continuing to smack his head against this wall. Cobras have been purchased now. Like, he just doesn't have the AA anymore. I mean, he lost a lot of Tunguskas. So he's relying on his fighters, which is fine, but it does mean that the Cobras can kill you at close range. We see now that, you know, the Cobra gun's not the best thing ever. MakeNoise does appear to be running out of... you see, we'll talk about this in the deck review, how you need so many of these supply vehicles, because they don't carry much supply. MakeNoise seems to have run out of, like, Totus and stuff. And it looks like Skate's probably going to get back in here. Question is, can he really... I mean, can he do it in 4 minutes? That's the question. So yeah, this, you know, Skate... sorry, MakeNoise can't really do anything about this. He probably can't even see it. So that's free to just rinse all his guys. And so red should be able to take the town. But what blue should be doing is... oh, okay. So he's done an attack over here, so that's smart. The eagle goes down there to, I don't know, maybe an Igla killed it. Prowler gets the last AA piece. Well, okay, I suppose the eagle counts. I'm not sure what killed that eagle. Sorry, I've been too busy looking over here. So yeah, this is just smart from blue to try and, you know, because red wants to play narrow, so blue can play wide. And if he just gets this in here, that's really all he needs to do. Having said that, he has just lost this because he doesn't have a CV in here. And yeah, basically, if you're in blue's position and red takes the... Wow, this Igla, man. So there's your 40% ECM there, you know. But yeah, so he gets this in, so that'll keep his... Because this is a +2 and this is a +1, so actually it matters more. Prowler's probably not going to make it. This thing does have like 10 missiles. And yeah, it turns very well. Okay, I mean, it turns better than other planes. Turns better than the Eagle. Blue bought more VADs. Yeah, so he's in here, and he's going to win in a minute, I guess, because red needs to get a CV over here, and I think all he's got is these, are these. So yeah, here it comes. Is that okay? Oh, so there, this position comes into play now. This is never getting there. A really cool game, actually. Corsair AT has been intercepted and taken out. He's just trying to buy time. But basically, if you're in blue's position there and, you know, you're getting pushed out, but you just fall back to the back of the town again. You don't just sit there and get eaten by a BMP-2. Or you can do something like this. Just send a small force over there. Yeah, it makes sense, right? Yeah, like this was smart. But no, I really do think that once MakeNoise took this, he should have just doubled down on this side and just got so many guys in here, and then you set up all your ATGM vehicles. Just makes it so much harder for red to get in. But instead he came over here, which, you know, did help him a bit, but, you know, I think a little bit of an overinvestment. The 2 Alaska Cav Scouts and the tow would have been sufficient. And yeah, MakeNoise just desperately trying to buy time here. There's no way Skate can do anything. I guess he's, you know, he's not used to losing, I guess, so doesn't want to surrender. With the clock running down there, yeah, pretty convincing book recommendation. Reading the Whirlwind, really good book, really good book. Yeah, so, you know, that was a really, really convincing win. So MakeNoise, you know, rank 74, been playing a lot lately, so that's 236 games, something like that. And Skate, been playing a lot recently, so that's 215 games. 86% win rate, rank 8 at the moment. 74, rank 74, 66% win rate. But no, I think Skate just played that wrong. I don't know, maybe this game was at 3 AM or something. Just lack of respect for the 6th US. It's just generally just yeah, because if you don't cut the reinforcements, yes, 6th US will win in the town. That is basically the only thing the div's good at. So you got to give him that, right? And yeah, then MakeNoise, once he took the zone, he started getting a bit sloppy, really. But yeah, I think his general strategy was just better. I mean, you could say it's a bit two-dimensional, but then again, his opponent's strategy was two-dimensional as well. It was just flood guys into the same town against the infantry div. So we'll stop saying the same thing over and over again, and I'll see you in the next one. GG.